All right, very good. Good morning, people. You should have a shaker, and you should have a piece of paper. Daughter, could you help me? Could you get everybody a paper and a piece of pen? A pen and a piece of paper. Meanwhile, I need to open this. There we are. Look at that. Now, if you are tuning in online, welcome. We're glad you're here. I'm trying to figure things out here for a moment. Everybody have a shaker? Everybody have a piece of paper? All right. Okay. All right. Well, we're very glad you're here, and not only are we welcoming you to Common Thread, we're welcoming you to the set of a play from Aggregate Productions here in town called My Name is Asher Lev, and I heard this morning that it is really good. It is like beating expectations good. As a matter of fact, one person said there was a review that went out, I can't remember in the Indy or where it was, but they asked, did you pay those people to make that review? So it's a joint production. Ridge Road is hosting it, and I'm going to go this afternoon. You might want to do it, so I'm looking forward. Oh, by the way, if you want tickets, you could just go to Ridge Road's website. You can get them there. All right. Another thing that we're going to do with Ridge Road is coming up on February 26th, and I'm hoping that 40 of us will stay after. We're going to eat free pizza, then we're going to assemble meals. We're going to assemble 20,000 meals. That's just our congregation. Ridge Road is going to try and assemble their own 20,000 meals. So we'll finish church, Rise for Hunger. We'll have a truck outside. They'll come in and help set the chapel up for meal bag assembling. We'll help them set it up. When Ridge Road dismisses, they're a little bit later than we are. We'll eat pizza together, maybe get to know one another, and then we'll start putting bags together. So again, I hope 40 of us will stay after. So again, welcome. Glad you're here. If you're a newcomer, and if you're a faraway newcomer, or if you're here remote, we would love to greet you in a low-key way. We created an email to do that. If you'd like the email, either zoom in on the QR code or thumb type in our website /newcomer. Also, here's our weekly reminder that if you're having rough days, we want to be the kind of community that stands with one another on our rough days. So please talk to somebody today, or use the QR code or thumb type. That'll get through to Morgan, and who's having some rough days. And so I want to be the kind of community that stands with one another when we're going through our tough times. So let's say together as we do each week. Are you ready? Yeah, we're ready. Are you ready? Yes. All right. If you're here, you belong. If you're here, you belong. Excellent. We are, every one of us, carriers of the inner light. We are, every one of us, carriers of divine breath. Excellent. Now, before Joe comes up for music school, a few words about words. Just 2 words, actually. If you've been at Common Thread for a while, you've heard this refrain: there is no word that is big enough to contain the divine. Consequently, all we have are like words. The divine is like the wind. The divine is like a stone. The divine is like a mother hen, like a loving father. And for many people, for many years, living in a feudal society, way back in the old days, the divine is like a king or like a lord. And it was a very helpful metaphor for many, many generations, but now, not so much. Because now, that term, Lord, evokes connections with abuse of power or male domination. So we don't use those jarring words, except I am watching Joe do this. He is working really hard to find songs that speak to spiritual themes, help us learn how to create beauty together, and don't use the jangly language. and I'm not even thinking it can be done. I don't think you can find the songs. So we're working hard. So two things we're asking. Number one, you're going to come across the word today, two of them, Lord. The other one is thou. When you hear them, it might evoke an image of an authority figure or probably a male one. So when you hear that word, think metaphor. That's all it is, metaphor. And probably somebody else's metaphor, not even my metaphor. So let's do that. So two things, keep that in mind. The second thing is help us out. Look for songs. Find some songs that speak to the themes that are important, and let's look for those together. All right, Joe, hit it.
All right. Well, that's because I haven't turned it on. All right, we are here, we are ready. Before we start singing, I just wanted to take a minute and just thank all of you for embracing this aspect of spiritual community. We've been at this for a few months now, and I think when we got started, I know I didn't really know what would happen or if anything would happen, if anything would come of it, but you all have been so enthusiastic and so supportive, and I just want to thank you for embracing this and really bringing a lot of joy in the process. When you sing today, we've been working on a lot of stuff. We've been working on meter 3, meter 4, syncopation. You may feel like you're actually in music school. And sometimes when I would be taking lessons, the teacher would talk about a lot of technical stuff and do this and shape this and whatever. And then after we talked about all that, she would say, now I want you to forget all about that and just sing. Okay, so today I want you to forget about all that stuff we've been talking about and just sing. Okay, because that's all that other stuff simply exists to give us the comfort to sing together and to sing with joy. So here we go. Don't worry if you come in early. Don't worry if you come in late. Don't even worry if you accidentally come in right at the right time. It all fits. It all belongs, right? All right, here we go. Spirit in me. So we've got our shakers. Shakers is just an easy eighth note pattern. We're going to start, get our track started. And you're going to shake along with that, if you can hear it. There you go. All right, and my instrumentals, here we go, ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Shine from my life like the sun. Give of your goodness, light up the darkness. Spirit of light and love. 2, 3, 4, Spirit. Spirit. In me. Not yet. Go back. Rain. 2, 3. In me. There you go. Live out in the open. Shine from my life like the sun. Give of your goodness, light up the darkness. Spirit of light and love. Yeah.
Well done. I like the big finish, guys. I like
Yes,
that.
yes. Got to. Got to. All right, beautiful. Now, for this next song, I'm going to ask everybody of every shape and size to go ahead and take that wonderful shaker and put it somewhere where it won't be shaken. They will be, I promise you get to play them again. We're not done with the shakers. All right. So I'm going to try something today. This is a new song for us, but I'm going to take a guess that it's not a new song for everyone. And a lot of times when I teach a new song, I'll bring the keyboard over and I'll play, and I may do that. But I'm going to try just teaching it vocally. It's called Abide With Me. And I think that, as I said, it's a Christian hymn that's been around for a very long time, and it really does have a beautiful message of just asking God to abide with us through every hour of the day, through every season of life. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sing the first snippet of the first line, and then I ask you to echo that back to me. And then I'm going to sing the whole first line and ask you to sing that back to me. And we'll just kind of work through the first verse that way. So let's see how we do. Okay. Abide with me. Your turn. Sing. Abide with me. Good. Here's the whole line. Abide with me. Fast falls the eventide. Your turn. Go. Abide with me, fast falls the eventide. Here's the first half of the second line. The darkness deepens. Your turn. And the darkness deepens. Wonderful. Here's the whole second line. The darkness deepens. Lord, with me abide. Your turn. The darkness deepens. Lord, with me abide. Wonderful. Third line, first part. When other helpers. Your turn. When other helpers. Here's the whole line. When other helpers fail and comforts flee. Your turn. When other helpers fail and comforts flee. First part of the last line. Help of the... I lied, I'm going to do the whole thing. Help of the helpless, oh, abide with me. Your turn. Help of the helpless, oh, abide with me. Beautiful. So there's 3 verses. That's the first one, and here we go. Abide with me, fast falls the eventide. The darkness deepens, Lord, with me abide. When other helpers fail and comforts flee, help of the helpless, oh, abide with me. Swift to its close, out of life's little day. Earth's joys grow dim, its glories pass away. Change and decay in all around I see. O thou who changest not, abide with me. I need thy presence every passing hour. What but thy grace can foil the tempter's power? Who like thyself my guide and stay can be? Through cloud and sunshine, oh, abide with me. Through cloud and sunshine, oh, abide with me. Beautiful. Well done. Yeah. Couldn't have said it better myself. All right, go find that shaker that you just hid, like an Easter egg. Yeah, see, that one didn't take long, did it? We're back, baby. Day by day. Day by day. First part is nice and slow in 3, and feel free to join in with me. And then we go to meter of 4, and the beat picks up, and the instruments start rocking. So the first part, day by day, that's the part, well, I maybe spoke too soon on those shakers. The first part, it's okay if you just can't help it, I understand. It happens to the best of us. If you don't play on this first part, I won't be mad. If you do play on this first part, I won't be mad. And then we'll go into the 4, and I definitely want you to play. Here we go. The no juggling zone. Day by day, not yet, day by day, but it sounds beautiful. Oh, dear Lord, 3 things I pray. To see thee more clearly, love thee more dearly, follow thee more nearly, day by day, day by day, day by day. One, two, three, 4. Day by day, day by day. There you go. Oh, dear Lord, 3 things I pray. To see thee more clearly, love thee more dearly, follow thee more nearly, day by day. Here's the second time. Day by day, day by day, oh dear Lord, 3 things I pray. Here we go. To see thee more clearly, love thee more dearly. Keep that going. To see thee more clearly, love thee more dearly. 2 more. To see thee more clearly, love thee more dearly. Last one. To see thee more clearly, to love thee more dearly. day by day, by day, by day, by day. Big, yeah, take it out. Yay! Success. All right.
All right, friends, let's turn to someone nearby you, pass the peace of God, the blessing of the Lord, one to another. Oh, yeah. Shakers, please. I'll take your shakers. Thank you. Shakers, please. You can keep those. Could you make sure everybody has some of those if they don't? And as you're being seated, a few announcements to make. As you're being seated, a few announcements to make. First of all, you need a piece of paper, and Sue is walking around right now. Here, you can pass these around as well. You need a piece of paper, and you need something to write with. We talk about working the circle all the time here in the community. It's a set of ancient practices that we use in order to thrive and flourish in our souls. The way that we do that shows up on our calendar. And so you'll see we've got a lot of things that work the communal, the contemplative, and the learning and the serving practices together, because when we do them together, we actually do them. We don't say that the communal practices are more important than the others, but we do put them first, because if you put them first, then you're actually more likely to do the contemplative and the learning and the serving. And so we say when people are coming to the community, if you've got 10 units of energy to apply to the community, spend 8 of those units making friends, because that's how we end up developing the capacity to sustain over time. So you can see what's coming up. We got What Are You Thinking coming up on Zoom today. If you're online, we'd love you to join for that. Brew Crew tonight, Bunko Night, Mardi Gras Brunch coming up on the 18th. I love the chili cook-off. We're going to do something very similar with Mardi Gras food coming up. Let's see. Oh, I forgot that. Let's see. Drop-in Enneagram groups next week and volunteering at the Mid Shelter. This is the Mardi Gras Brunch. So, if you bite down on baby Jesus, lucky you. And let's see. What else is coming? Centering prayer group. Sue, I saw something. Sue, when does it start?
Next Sunday.
Okay, next Sunday, and it's early at night, like 9:15. One of these rooms down the hall. Okay, very good. And let's see. And if you want to know what's going on in the community, 3 things we ask you to find out every week. Open the email when it comes. Get it out of your junk folder so that it actually comes to you. Check the website or check the app. You can find out what's going on there. Okay. All right, Sue, quit handing stuff out now. Now come up and lead us in centering prayer. Take a breath.
If you want to know more about the centering prayer practice, check out the information that's in the app and the community bulletin board area. Posted something this morning, but the main thing is show up next week at 9:15 and we will get started with our group, talk about what that looks like. We talked a little bit about centering prayer a few weeks ago, if you remember. The big thing that you want to do with centering prayer is get thoughts out of your head so that we can be in internal silence and access the interior divine more deeply. And so if everybody would just get in a comfortable place in your bodies. I'm going to just do this for 5 minutes this morning. When a thought comes to you, and they will, you're going to return to a sacred word. So choose a word right now that helps bring you back to the present, brings you to an understanding of the divine in you. And every time a thought comes to you, and thoughts will come to you, let them gently float away, using that word to come back to the divine within you. We'll begin.
Take a few more breaths. Quiet and stillness. Indwelling divine, less dominated by our habit thoughts. That's our prayer. More able to turn from our habituated emotional responses. That's our prayer. And more alert to the inner light that we all carry. Amen. Well, good morning again. Our lesson, making the hard choices. But before that, a little bit of housekeeping. And first, I want to thank you. I want to thank you like Joe did earlier this morning, bringing your kids and helping us learn how to be a multi-generational community, helping us push against a lot of the social constructs and pressure that resist that. I want to thank you also because you were getting the lock installed this week. Somebody signed up. We've had a lot of people come forward to help facilitate morning time meditation. And so today I got another ask, and that's what the paper and pen is for. So if you've got that paper and pen, now's the time to get it out. If you don't have one, wave, and somebody will get one to you. Oh, by the way, the Tiny Habits Book Club, we had 5 responses so far, and this is last week. If you want to go to that QR code, you'll get, you can put your interest in there if you're interested in doing that. So the board budgeted a pretty good stipend for 3 Sunday morning leaders for our children. It works out to be 20-something an hour, and we're looking for people who love kids. Elementary teacher, preschool teacher, and a nursery teacher / baby lover. And we'll give them everything that they need to succeed, all the things that they need to match our community, but we need help finding them. So you got a piece of paper now. And do you know somebody? Do you know somebody who's a teacher or works at the Y, or who's a college kid studying, child development or some such thing? If you can, put your name and put their name and contact information on there. But if you don't have that, put yours on, and we'll follow up with you. Now, again, we're going to give them everything that we need: the lessons and the games and the crafts. Shelby is the best at that. We're just looking for people who are reliable and teachable and who love kids. So please put that on there, and then leave it on your chair. I'll go and pick them all up. Leave everything on your chair. I'll even take the blank paper because we'll use that again sometime. And remember what I've been saying. Ask Shelby how things are going down there. Find out how our kids' ministry is going. I hope next week we can begin talking about our teenagers. That's another focus for this coming year. So we're thinking about making the hard choices. And we've been exploring the pull that we experience toward drift in our American culture, pulling us away from making the hard choices. Ours, we've seen, is a productivity culture. We are valuable in our culture to the degree that we produce. Ours is a no limits culture. We are collectively disposed to limit denying. These are cultural currents that make it very difficult for a lot of Americans to know when we've hit enough. Because if we are good to the degree that we produce, what is good enough? When have we produced enough? If we are good to the degree that we push past limits, when have we pushed past enough? When have we done enough limit denying? The default setting is usually more. That's when we do it, when we've done more, but more is not always the best. But on the other hand, as we've seen from our wisdom tradition, there is a way to live a productive life A life of work, we saw last week. Whatever work you find, work hard at it. Do it heartily, do it with all your might, but also live in such a way that you savor the short little scratch of time that we get on this earth. Spend a life that prioritizes loving our people, eating our food with gladness, drinking our wine with joy, wearing our clothes, doing our hair. There is a life, we heard Thomas Merton describe 2 weeks ago, that knows when it is enough. A good life is lived within the limits of being human. A good life does not try to fit more into our human lives than can fit into a human life. I wrote this down, but I didn't write down where I found it, so I've got it. I'm going to tell it to you, but I can't give credit to whoever it is. It says that I read this. Each time we open an app, there are 1,000 people on the other side of the screen working hard, being paid to keep us there. To think that we can go up against 1,000 people and resist that effort, that might be a little futile. That's just one area when we go into an app. 1,000 people doing their dead level best to insert more into our lives than can fit into a human life. What are the odds we're going to win that one? A culture that is steeped in the notion that blowing past limits makes us good, well, that culture by definition is not going to be very good at knowing when is enough. So we saw last week the authors of Ecclesiastes kind of gets a little in our faces, uses some very confrontive language, some very challenging language to push up against our evolutionary human proclivity to deny the reality of limits that are, in fact, immovable. 80 years if we're lucky. No wiggle room on that limit. 24 hours in a day. No wiggle room in that limit. The author pushes us hard to see the reality of our limits. There is never enough time. We cannot do all the good things there are to do. We just cannot. We cannot do everything. We can't taste everything. We can't experience everything. So we have to decide. We have to make the hard choices. So there's Ecclesiastes pushing us hard to take medicine that our evolutionary brains work so hard to not take. Make choices because there are limits. Make decisions because there are limits. You cannot do it all, so decide what you'll do and decide well. It's not a new human struggle. I mean, Ecclesiastes, 2,200 or 2,400 years ago, so the idea's been around. But we're exploring how fiercely our American culture has taken to this idea. 1,000 people on the other side of the screen. So let's talk today about how the American culture tends to fall into this pit. Let's talk about efficiency. And I want to start today talking about efficiency by saying this: I love efficiency. I love getting 2x accomplished with the same time and energy that I used to spend 4x doing. I just love that. Vice versa, 1x doing. When my kids and when mobile technology were both young, they used to laugh at me about how fixated I was on the productivity potential of the Palm Pilot or of the not very smart smartphone. Because I was always an early adopter, always a figure-it-outer. I always focused hours and hours when I'd get a new device to be as efficient in my work as possible. Now, Gene, who has been my go-to tech guy for about 20 years, he calls me a power user. You like that? Power. Because what I do is I try to suck every bit of capacity out of whatever device I've got, trying to get it to do more and do more and do more. He rolls his eyes at me all the time and he says, you are just going to have to spend money if you want it to do those things. You can't keep buying these cheap devices. And he's got this other recurring refrain, Just bite the bullet, get a Mac. You just got to move over and go join the bright side. Well, I do all that stuff. I try to be as efficient as I can. And my motivation is to try and get every best practice of productivity that I can, to remove the friction from the day-to-day things that I do, to make it easy to capture ideas, that's a big part of my life, to make it seamless to create a sustainable workflow from those ideas, to discern if those ideas are rooted in wisdom, and then how to turn them into actual things. So I love efficiency, love, love, love it. When I go away to write with considerable hassle involved and the risk that I'm going to break this thing, I always bring a second monitor. I actually put it up on the dashboard so that it doesn't get crushed in the trunk. I got this big old tote bag and it sticks way out, and I got this tangle of wires. It is very, very inconvenient to bring a second monitor when I go away, but I do it because efficiency. Research on one screen, along with notes that I've taken in the past, along with a notepad to capture new ideas. Over here on the other screen, the things that I'm writing, because God forbid the inefficiency of Alt-Tab, that I would have to do that. I might forget the thought that I was thinking in the half second that it takes to do Alt-Tab. So I love efficiency. I think efficiency is our friend. And I need to start with that because I think there's also an ugly downside to efficiency. During What Are You Thinking last week, we were talking about limits, and it came up that sometimes...
Could you try again?
Shh. No, I don't want to talk to you now. We talked about how sometimes we need to push past limits, and how we expand when we do push past limits, how we grow, and boy, that is really true. But it is also true, we saw last week, 80 years. 24 hours. There's never, and there never will be, enough time. So, to live wisely, we have to hold these truths in tension. And we have to discern when we adopt this understanding of the truth and when we adopt this understanding of the truth. Well, the same thing is true here. Two efficiency truths. To live wisely, we need to hold those two truths in tension. Truth number one, efficiency is the best. I love efficiency. Let's look at truth number two. I bet you've heard of this book, and I bet you know what those jars of rocks are all about. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I read it when it first came out. That's how old I am. And these jars are a well-known illustration how to live an effective life. On the table, there are some big rocks, there's some little rocks, there's some sand. If you put the sand in first, there's not going to be any room for the big rocks, so make sure that you put the important things in first. You put the big rocks in first. That way, if you schedule the important things first, you're going to make sure they get done, and then what you can do is you can shake in the sand, the less important things, you can shake in the little rocks, and you can end up squeezing all the stuff in if you're just smart about how you do it. And the main thing is, put first things first, make sure that you live according to your biggest values. It's a strategy for values-driven living. First things first, important things first. It's also a strategy for efficient living because it's amazing how much empty space there is between the big rocks. Wow, so much time in the cracks. If you put the big rocks in first, you really can do it all. The problem with the illustration is the number of rocks that are on the table when the demonstration starts. If you're smart about it, that number of rocks will actually fit in the jar. But in human life, that's not the way it works. There's just too many rocks. There are always more rocks, good rocks, sometimes even better rocks. There are always more important things to do, more good things to take part of, more valuable things than a human life can contain. There are just too many rocks in a human life, more than will fit in the stupid jar. So, if we let our evolutionary brains run unchecked, if we let our compulsion to hide from our own mortality go unchecked, and then if we add on top of that our limit-denying culture, add to that we are not going to build our lives around 80 years if we're lucky, 24 hours in a day. Do that, and we end up not making the hard choices. Because often we go through our lives believing, and then believing again, and then believing again, we really can fit all the rocks in. All it's going to take, we feel inside of our American guts, a little more shaking, a little more squeezing, stay up a little later, get up a little earlier, squeeze in a little extra. Now, as we said last time, sometimes that's exactly what we need to do. We need to push up against our limits because we've drawn them back way too far. Sometimes we need to not be imposing limits on ourselves. That's really true. But sometimes when we're trying to shake a little bit more in, what we're really doing is avoiding making hard choices. As much as I love efficiency, it promises more than it can deliver. What it can do is help us get more done with less time and effort. It can do that. But what it can't do is solve the Ecclesiastes problem. It can't solve the 80 years, 24-hour days problem. What it often does, however, is feed the illusion of our own immortality. If we get efficient enough, and if we do more stuff, it makes us feel we really can do it all. If I just had a little bit more, doing of more with less. And I promise, I really will. I'll prioritize the big rocks. Really, I promise I will. You know, the not urgent but important stuff, I'll do that. But also, I'm going to meet all my deadlines, and I'm going to return all my emails, and I'm going to finish all my reports, and I'm going to be ready for all of my meetings, and I'm going to make healthy meals on the weekend, and I'm going to make sure I get up early to go to the gym, and I'm going to make sure I meditate, and I'm going to have thoughtful conversations with my spiritual friends. And then when I have shaken it all well and I've squeezed it all in, then I can feel at peace. And then I can be serene. Here's the problem, and that is that I bet you've tried that. And I bet you've tried to be a little more efficient and to squeeze a little more in. And here's what I also bet. I bet it worked. I bet it went gangbusters for a while. And I bet when it did go gangbusters for a while, you believed, I know I have many, many times, see, I could do this. I really can. I can manage it all. But before long, no matter how we shake the rocks, no matter how we try and get more efficient, we begin to suffer the law of diminishing returns. Same effort, but now a little worn down, not quite as efficient, not quite as vigorous because limits. Because also the pile-on effect. You might have noticed that efficient people end up with more stuff. Partly because of our own doing. We get efficient, we free up a little time, we get a little bit more done with a little less time or energy. We think, hey, I could do more, and so we add more to our own lists. But also, who wants to give important tasks to inefficient people so somebody else will cooperate and give more to us as well? So we've got the pile-on effect that we do to ourselves, we got the pile-on effect that others do to us, and inevitably the efficiency trap fails us. Physical weariness, unsustainable focus, piling on too many rocks. Efficiency inevitably stops working. But the crazy thing is, even though it does, we still hold on to the story. That little sliver of time when it did work, when it was going gangbusters, reinforces a story deep inside of us. I know I could have just kept it up. I know I could do it. I did it for all that time. If I could just now start living that way. All I need to do is muster a little bit more willpower. All I need to do is work a little bit smarter, work a little bit stronger, be a little more disciplined. Maybe I need to get a better job, a better work environment so it can help me up. I could, I will, I think I can. And inevitably, efficiency fails us. Another fun part of the efficiency trap is the guilt. To do more at work, we have to sacrifice something, and that's usually home. So then we feel guilty about home. And then when we do more at home, then we feel guilty about our work. And if we don't feel guilty about those, then we feel guilty about not taking care of our bodies or not watching over our food. Or what about our friendships? We're not taking care of our friendships. Or social justice. Come on, good people take care of social justice. And how about supporting our kids' teachers? And how about the church? Oh my God, there's just too many rocks. That's the human experience. Get more efficient, and always more rocks are just going to keep showing up. And now, because we've gotten more efficient, because we've put more into the little cracks in between the big rocks, now we feel busier all the time because we have fit more stuff into less time. And we do feel more pressure, and we do feel more stress. Efficiency has an ugly underside, and it will harm us. It's an American pitfall, an American promise that cannot live up to what it promises. Boy, it can do a lot. Did I mention I love efficiency? But it can't solve the Ecclesiastes problem. It doesn't remove the necessity of making the hard choices. It just fools us into thinking we don't have to. We don't have to make the hard choices. Finally, let's think about efficiency's first cousin. Let's think about convenience. Now, I should mention here, I love convenience. I love convenience. I love that I have Amazon in my pocket. I love that if I get it wrong, I could go right to Kohl's and they don't even care if I've got the box. I just love easy and I love convenience. I get an email while I'm waiting for an appointment. Hey, Doug, the chapel project is ready for the monitor on the back wall. While I'm waiting for that appointment to show up, boom, it's ordered, it's on its way, it's going to get here. I love convenience, and I bet you do too. But like its first cousin, convenience has a downside, has a dark side. When we remove the hassle factor in doing business, when we remove the small annoyances in our buying and in our selling and in our doing, first, convenience disconnects us from people. Because you might have noticed, people are often small annoyances. They want to say extra words. They want to take extra time. And they are very annoying or inconvenient. So what we do when we remove the impediments and make things convenient is usually remove the people from the system. And I've mentioned this book quite a few times. When we do that, there's a whole bunch of research that goes into what happens to human beings when we stop getting our coffee from a barista or when we stop getting our groceries from a clerk. It's an important book. It speaks to the sources, the drivers behind this epidemic of anxiety and depression we're going through as a society. I think everybody should read it. You might want to. But convenience, by making things easy, shapes what we decide we're going to do. Without us participating in the decision, convenience mostly shapes what we stop doing. There's a reason those 1,000 people on the other side of my screen work so hard to make things easy for me. They work so hard to eliminate the friction in my doing. Because if they make their thing easy, I'll stop doing the other thing. And I'll stop doing it primarily because their thing is so easy. And I end up making that decision often without asking, is the thing that I'm opting out of the best thing to be opting out of? Is the thing that I'm opting out of actually a primal, essential part of being human, an important thing? Is it a wise thing for me to be letting it go? The dark side of convenience is it shapes the things that we stop doing. Because we prefer the easy thing, we stop doing the other thing. DoorDash is much easier than organizing a meal with someone. I'm not sure it's better. Netflix algorithm, those 1,000 people who are keeping me there watching the next episode, that's a whole lot easier than organizing time spent with friends. I'm not sure it's better. Convenience, like efficiency, seduces us into imagining that there's room for everything, and there's not. Convenience, like efficiency, hides from us what we are saying no to. Because what we say no to shapes what we're saying yes to. And it does it without us really having a say, without us thinking it through. More yes to what's convenient, more no to something maybe more important. Convenience, like efficiency, reinforces the illusion you don't have to make choices. You can have it all, and you can have it delivered to your door. Now again, I love convenience. I love convenience. This is not an argument against convenience. It is an argument to go back to what we do every year at the first of the year and live a considered life, a reflective life, to ask the questions what our yeses will be and what our nos will be. It is an argument to make the hard choices, make the hard decisions, and to realize we cannot have it all, we cannot do it all, we're going to have to decide. As Americans, there are a lot of forces bearing down on us, and they're all reinforcing the illusion that we don't have to make the hard choices. And the truth is, we don't. Lots of people are not making the hard choices. We can let those forces carry us all the way through our one and only life on this earth. We can do that. But also, and the wisdom of the spiritual tradition encourages us too, we can decide. We can decide. I was speaking to an introvert friend this week, and we were talking about how easy it is to stay home. How easy it is to not show up to the spaces where we build friendships. Because friendship building is the embodiment of inconvenience. Friendship building is the embodiment of inefficiency. It's difficult. If we were good at it, we would have been extroverts. We don't know what to do in the space. It's hard, so it's easy to not see that we are not making the hard choices. It's easy to not see that we are not building our network of spiritual friends. So over lunch, as we were talking, I told him about my wife, about Denise. She's an introvert. And as long as I've known her, I cannot think of one time an evening meeting has rolled around and she wanted to get dressed, and she wanted to get in the car, and she wanted to leave the house, and she wanted to go to the thing. I can't remember once. Now, the things that she tends to go to, always good. She's very careful that way. So I also can't remember her ever coming back from a thing and regretting that she went. But she goes because she made a bigger picture decision. She made a hard choice. She made some considered life choices about, I want to have the hassle of people in my life. That's what was her conclusion. I want a network of spiritual friends. I want to share the spiritual journey with others. I want the give and take that happens together on the path. So I'm making the hard choices. She latched onto a phrase lately. You got to ask two questions, not just one. The first question is what hurts, but the other question is what hurts more. And it hurts more to not show up into the spaces. So she shows up to Bunko, and she shows up to her book club, and she shows up to the places where connections get made, and she shows up when she doesn't know the people who are going to be there, and it's going to be very difficult for her to make those connections. She's always glad that she did, every time, but also every time, I could stay home. The couch. Making the hard choices, resisting the siren song and the false promise of efficiency, resisting the choice shaping, mostly the no-saying choices of convenience. Indwelling divine, may we be the people who choose wisely, making the hard choices. Amen. Well, if you would, get out your phone, and we all give online now. You can either point your camera at the QR code, or you can thumb type in commonthreadchurch.org. If you're at home watching on a computer, you can just type it in. Lots of options when you get there, lots of ways to give. And we invite people here in Raleigh, or even if you're far away, to take an ownership stake in the community. Now, here's the thing. You all have been a very generous community. We are able to move into this space that hasn't had technology since 1959. We're probably going to face a bigger electric bill than we planned for because it turns out that the electricity in 1959 doesn't work for our current technology. But we'll be able to do that, and we'll be able to take care of our teens, and we'll be able to take care of our children because you have been a generous community. So thank you for that. And you also have done a pretty good job keeping in mind what I say every week, that there is good return when we invest in community. We give. We give our time, and we give our energy, and we give our love, and we give our dollars. And then the community takes those resources, amplifies them, and gives them back to us in the form of an environment in which we thrive, in which our children thrive. Thank you for being a generous community, and let's keep that in mind. Again, it's on our website. It's about as easy as we can make it. So in a minute, we're going to dismiss the folks on the live stream, and here in the room we'll do What Are You Thinking? Because the tables are all out during the run of this play, we'll just do it like we did last week, and we'll just open the floor. If you're online, you might not know that this is one of the best parts of our community life, so we hope that you will overcome the impediment. It's really difficult to go there because you don't know. Maybe they're going to be mean to you when you get there. I promise you they won't. I know who the folks are. They'll be nice to you. You will, at the end of the 20 minutes, think to yourself, that was worth my time. On the front page of our website, when you scroll down, you'll see the link to the Zoom. If you don't find it there, it's under Events and News, and that'll give you the link, and here's the password. The password is 1417, 1417. So click on the link. It's there in the YouTube notes, or if you're time shifting, maybe next week, come during the live, and then you can join in as well. Let's dismiss the folks as they go online. If you would, please put your hand on your heart. And let's remember as we go that we are, every one of us, carriers of the indwelling divine, which means love and joy, peace, patience, and kindness, what the tradition calls the fruit of the indwelling spirit. That's all in us. So let's look for opportunities to share what's in us with the people that let's extend our other hand to the city, people we live with, people we work with, people we go to school with, looking for opportunities to share that stuff that's already in us with those people, looking for opportunities to repair and heal the world. Amen. God's blessing on you. There was something I was going to tell you before you go. What was it? Yeah, I forgot it. All right. Goodbye, all. The rest of us, tell me what's stirring up in your heart. What are you thinking about?